Why, hello. Welcome to Lighten Up with Lucy. Whoever you are, whatever you are wearing, whenever you are watching this, wherever you are right now, why ever you clicked on this video, I am here to let you know that you are beautiful. I have no idea what you actually look like, but that has no effect on just how beautiful you truly are. You are breathing, you are alive, and you are here. That is all that matters. I would like to take a moment to place a verbal trigger warning that there is some brief mention of someone attempting to sexually assault me. Also, this video may feel at times like it is all over the place, but it is only because of the way that everything in life is so interconnected. With that being said, I will try to stick to the specific topic the best that I can and save the more in-depth parts for their own separate videos. Alright, now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's begin. You may be asking yourself, ethically genderless? What does that mean? Don't worry, we'll get to that later on in the video. First, I will begin where my supposed gender began, in utero. Just like every single one of you watching this video today, I used to be literally microscopic. This is a fact that I think about all the time. We think of babies as so small, but in reference to being microscopic in the not so distant past, I think that all of them who grow eventually into all of us are actually quite impressive in terms of size transformation. Try to take a moment to remember and truly comprehend that the next time you are feeling down about yourself for being short, you beautiful giant. At some point during my development, it was found out that I had a penis. I know. What? Your name is Lucy, and you have a penis? Fun fact number 1. Names do not have genders. I was born and given the name Nicholas Michael Reese. It was chosen by my parents because they liked the name Nicholas. And my birthing parent has a sibling named Michael. Pretty short and sweet. Contrary to popular belief, I never actually disliked my name. It just never truly felt like me. When I grew up and found out that I could pick my own name, I was so genuinely excited. But this previous naming also fell in correspondence with societally placed views of what it means when you are born with certain genitalia. This was proven by the fact that there was a different name chosen for me for if I would have been born with a slightly different body. This world sees everything in very pink and blue terms. If you have a vagina, you will have pink and other brightly colored clothes, long hair, pierced ears, be a princess or fairy, like flowers and tea parties, play with Barbies, etc. Oh, but if you have a penis, you will wear blue and other darker colors, have short hair, intact earlobes, be a prince or superhero, like getting dirty and playing rough, playing with action figures, etc. These are all stereotypes that are unnatural and were purposely put into place by power-hungry, egotistical people with penises who wanted to divide us as a way to brainwash their way to the top. And these things have absolutely nothing to do with who we actually are as people. Right now, you may be thinking that this doesn't seem very light for a channel called Lighten Up with Lucy. But my name serves multiple purposes as a creating and spreading of positivity, a detoxification from the darkness that tries to surround us, and as a spreading of truth which leads to being further enlightened. Now back to what I was saying. Even if these specific things are what your childhood consisted of, and you absolutely loved them, and even may still love them, and have friends with matching genitalia who are into the same exact things, and you bond over the nostalgia and good feelings created by these shared similarities. Believe me, I've been there on both sides. I've felt all the feelings, good and bad, that come along with basing my life off of these minuscule things that can truly be enjoyed by any open-minded person. These genitalia-based stereotypes are not who you are. They do not define you. We're just taught that they do, because it is a lot easier to control a divided world than one that is unified. If you enjoy any or all of these things and they bring happiness into your life, then by all means, like them and embrace them because of that. Just make sure that you are not doing it because you were told to by people who thought that they knew your destiny from the moment they saw a tiny body part in an ultrasound. Fun fact number 2. Your existence is not based off of what kind of genitalia you have. For this part of the story, I'm going to use gendered terms to show my thought process as a kid. I grew up as a boy, and even though we had similarities, I was very confused by why I liked so many things that other boys didn't like. And my confusion stayed that way into the beginnings of manhood. Everyone at school assumed that I was gay from a very young age and mocked me for it on a practically daily basis. I knew, though, that I was not gay because I could find attraction to both boys and girls. It made no sense to me how anyone could just not have attraction to an entire group of people. Because even back then, I knew that we were all just people. The more time that I spent in the boys' locker room, it became a lot more apparent to me that there were a lot of toxicities that were being held onto by all of these other boys around me. And a lot of them were based off of the degrading, sexualizing, and objectifying of girls. This was taking place in 6th grade. We were only 11, and we're already filled with so many bad things that our society raises us to believe and think are okay. It felt like the only way to fit in was to join in on the fun and talk with others about how hot our girl classmates were. And I just felt like I had to ignore what I already knew was truth and hide my non-discriminatory attraction to others so that I wouldn't get beaten up. The toxicity surrounding me which I sadly took on for a good chunk of my life, only got progressively worse as we got older. I am truly ashamed of the person who I allowed myself to become, because I know now that my ways hurt people without me even realizing it. At this point, I literally didn't feel like myself anymore. I just felt like a cardboard cutout of who society wanted me to be. It wasn't until around 10th grade that I started being slightly more open about being bi. But I usually only opened up to girls about it because they liked boys and thought that it was cute that I did too. It seemed like almost everyone that I opened up to felt like I was secretly gay, and that I was just pretending to like girls because I had to. This led to a lot of awkward and confusing situations with girls who I actually really liked. By the time that I graduated, I was very comfortable and open about being bi, and I could feel myself reconnecting with who I really was. But then college and adult life started. However bad I thought that everyone was back when we were younger, it had now become full-fledged disrespect, and it was truly shameful and sickening. With that, though, came that in our society, those years of our lives are built up for so long leading up to them, to be the most fun and important years of our lives, and the time when we make all of our future friends. So once again, I felt like I was being forced back into hiding and changing who I was just to try to fit in with the crowd. Even when I would try so hard to fit in, I was still very aware that I was acting and that I was really disconnecting from the truth and the caring, respectful, loving person who I was in my soul. This went on for a few years, and it is a huge part of what led me into the party-filled life of self-destruction that I was disguising under the name of fun. I felt like a monster. I felt so fake. I felt so rude. I felt like I had let down myself and every girl who I had ever known and cared for. I knew that I had to return to my true self because I just couldn't take the pain, shame, and guilt anymore. It was during my spiritual journey back in the summer of 2014 that I began to renounce my status of manhood. I initially came out as trans feminine after reading about the word for the first time. It honestly seemed to me to be the only explanation as to why I felt so different than all the other boys and men I had ever known. It was obvious to me at that time that I wasn't an actual woman, that sadly wasn't just someone who I could be accepted as. But I could accept myself as a guy who just identified more strongly with stereotypically feminine traits and interests than masculine ones. I lived under that label for about a year and a half afterwards, and during most of that time, I was living with my other biological parent, who I had never lived with before. I told them about me being trans feminine before I moved in, and they said that they loved and accepted me no matter who I was. I was so happy and felt so confident for the first time in my life. Once I moved in, though, I was confronted by them telling me that they would only accept me as long as I was never me around them or their kids, because they couldn't have their kids growing up thinking that that was an okay thing to do. started working with them in January, but we lost work that July, and I had to find something else. So I found a job working at an antique shop. It felt so perfect for me. I could wear whatever I wanted, listen to whatever records I wanted, just be happy and free and away from my parents' complete disregard of my feelings. My step-parent and step-siblings had found out about me because I couldn't contain myself anymore. And they loved and accepted me for who I was. But for my safety, we just couldn't tell my parent that they knew. So I had to still be fake when they were home. My step-parent started giving me dresses, skirts, heels, and pretty tops. I had never had the chance to feel so fully me before, and I felt alive. One day at work, I was wearing one of my new cute outfits, and I was running the shop by myself while my boss was out running other errands. It was a really slow day, so I got super excited when a customer finally walked up. They seemed really nice and walked around the shop for quite a while they talked to me. But once they realized that no one else was there, they closed the door, turned off the lights, and started trying to touch me, and tried getting me to touch them. I said no so many times, but they wouldn't listen. They just kept telling me that I would like it. I was finally feeling the effects from all of the toxicity that I had been raised around, and in that moment, I was genuinely scared for my life. Just as they were trying to make things progress further, a customer walked up who I knew was an off-duty police officer. Because I knew that there were 2 cars obviously parked outside, I was able to use that as an excuse for why we had to open the doors and let them in. So the toxic customer immediately walked out and drove away as the police officer walked in, but I was too scared to say anything to them. When my boss got back later that night, I told them about what happened. They told me that it was my fault for the way that I was dressed, and that they weren't trying to run some kind of freak show. They fired me for the way I was dressed on the day that I almost got assaulted. They were a woman. I couldn't believe that they would say such a thing. It was only a few days after this that my parent came home early and saw me wearing a skirt and decided to kick me out of their house. Over that time period, I really felt like I had lost all sense of everything remotely masculine about me. To me, it really came down to my genitalia being the only thing that was supposedly masculine, and I was not about to let my entirety as a being be summed up by what was in my underwear. I think that it was a mixture of all of these things, and the stereotypes that I had been made to believe in that led me to this next step. I officially came out as a transgender woman and began going by Lucy that December. I chose the name Lucy because of my love for the song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds by the Beatles, and also because I found out that it meant full of light, and that embodied exactly who I wanted to be. If you are following the timeline at all from my last video, At this point, I had started dating someone, and they had gotten pregnant soon after, and we got married in late December. So with this, I also had the emotional backing and excitement of becoming a wife and mother, which, because of the strength behind my feelings, very much solidified that there was no way a guy could experience what I was feeling. And to me, that meant that I was officially a woman and needed to start standing up for myself and womankind as a whole. I never wanted to get any kind of surgery. I just accepted myself as a woman with a penis. And I demanded respect as a woman and mother out of anyone who wanted to be a part of my life or Casey's future life. My whole life felt like it was a giant fight about my existence and validity. Whether it was with people online or my new boss who actively refused to call me Lucy and forced me to use the men's room. It coincidentally all started happening at the same time that all of the drama about the North Carolina bathroom bills started, becoming the hottest, most debated topic around America. I was horrified. It was such a scary time to be coming out as me and standing up so confidently for who I was. I had people who I had gone to school with threaten to kill me if they ever saw me go into the same bathrooms as their wives or children. Though that was such a difficult time, we were also getting significantly closer to Casey being born. So the excitement and feminism were steadily rising inside of me. I had been living full-time as myself for 4 months leading up to this point, and besides my amazing siblings and a few others, my family and friends had not accepted me or began using my name and pronouns yet. Casey was born that April, 3.5 months earlier than expected, and I finally knew the amazing, validating, empowering, almost indescribable feeling of motherhood. Because they were so premature, they had to be rushed to another hospital that would be able to take better care of them. So I stayed with my spouse to make sure that they were okay. That night, I utilized the time that they were asleep to make the announcement online. And as I was writing it out, it transformed into the most confident post that I had ever made. It was all about feminism, trans pride, and motherhood, and the ways that they are all intertwined. Simply, I refused to be disrespected or have my child raised in a world where people didn't accept me as their mother. I was met with a lot of aggression and denial, but for the first time, some people seemed to finally be starting to understand my side. Well, once again, if you watched the last video, then you know that 1 month and 3 days later, Casey passed away in the NICU. It was the most heartbreaking day and moment of my life, and what seemed to be the end to my newly acquired state of motherhood. I had lost almost everyone that meant anything to me by this point, and I felt so alone and helpless. To this day, I honestly believe that my family only began using my name and pronouns at this point to try their best to keep me from spiraling into what seemed like an impossibly even deeper depression. That next day, after they passed, was when I found out about the dairy and egg industries and came to the realization that I had to go vegan. When I saw those other mothers crying and screaming for their babies who were being ripped away, I knew that going vegan was the best thing that I could do as a peaceful person, feminist, and newly mourning mother. My life motto became real feminist or vegan because it became very apparent that you cannot claim to be a true feminist while simultaneously funding the enslavement, repeated forced impregnating, exploitation, and killing of other females, while also paying for the stealing and killing of their babies just so you can consume their babies' rightfully deserved breast milk. I knew that their species had no effect on their place in the feminist movement. The vegan activism community was more accepting, loving, caring, compassionate, and understanding of me than anyone that I had ever known. It felt like there was no question. I told them who I was, and they saw the real me, no matter what society was trying to tell them to believe about me. Now that I had all of these strong connections building between myself and my womanhood, I really felt like living as a trans woman was going to be the rest of my life. Years went by and I would hear about people detransitioning, and I would be so confused by how anyone could ever go through with that. I was all me, and I was all woman. Or so I thought. My present-day partner, Eve, was initially identifying as a trans man when we first got together. And though I will not share their personal story, I will say that they were not quite as accepting of their body as I was of mine. From the very beginning, we could talk about anything. I have never connected to another being as quickly, easily, and strongly as I have with them. As our lives progressed, so did our state of being, and our understanding of being trans, and the concept and origin of gender itself. 7 months into our relationship, they broke down and opened up to me. It came to light during that conversation that we both secretly felt like there was so much more to us than our self-identified genders, and that we needed to break free and begin our detoxification from the barriers that society had built up around us. We came out together as agender as a means of renouncing the division and classification of anyone based off of their genitalia. Though there are people who use they/them pronouns as an equal version of he, him, and she, her, we decided to drop the gendered pronouns altogether and begin using they/them pronouns as an opposition to the words it and that. There were times during my journey where people referred to me by using it or that in an attacking and dehumanizing way. So when I realized the complexity and the toxicity of using these same words to refer to animals, I knew that this complete objectification of living beings had to stop. Fun fact number 3. Individual they/them pronouns can be found in the Merriam-Webster dictionary and cover any and all living beings, regardless of species or genitalia. I am ethically genderless because I am tired of living in a world where we are all divided before we are even born, and trapped into these little check boxes that are supposed to plan out our futures, abilities, relationships, and interest for us. It follows the same concepts as the feminist movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, the vegan revolution, and countless others. At the core, it is about acknowledging the issues and injustices placed upon others from the past and present, and trying to learn from them to create a better, more unified, and equal future for us all. Beings with vaginas deserve respect. Beings with different levels of melanin deserve respect. All beings, regardless of any random characteristic we can place upon them, deserve respect. Whoever you are, whatever you are interested in, whatever you like to wear, whatever colors you like, whatever length of hair you have, whatever music you like, whatever pitch your voice has, whatever body parts you have, whatever your name is or you would like it to be. You are just you. I am just me. We are just us, trying to be. Stardust embodied, living on this beautiful planet, floating around in outer space. We need to take our lives back from those who skewed what it means to truly be us. World peace has no room for division or hierarchy. It only has room for us and the light that lives inside each and every one of us. Human, animal, we are one. The secret is out. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this long and winding story. I hope that no one has taken any kind of offense. Hopefully I have expressed the journey of my thoughts in an effective enough way to get you thinking outside of those societally created checkboxes. I love you all. Please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share if you think you can handle what's next. Bye.